episode 66 of Valheim, Slow and Easy. Hello, everybody. It's me, Hank. Welcome to a special episode of the program, time-lapse only. So everything we're looking at on screen is already recorded. I'm not playing the game. I'm just recording myself in OBS, which I'm then going to take and transfer over to DaVinci, as I've done some work to set up all this recorded footage into DaVinci, and then sped it up and made it so that it syncs up fine with the sound, I hope. It's going at, I think, 12x speed, which is about a nice balance between pace and keeping the sound working and kind of keeping it cohesive. Once you go past that, it starts to become a bit unwieldy, although faster than that is totally fine depending on what the heck you're speeding up. So, bit distracted right now. Been messing with audio equipment a bunch. New microphone. Thrilled to settle into this new microphone. Of course, having issues already with whether DaVinci's picking it up. I've got two microphones kind of connected through my mixing board. Well, one goes into the mixing board, one goes into the interface, and I had to... DaVinci, come on, get your shit together, would you? Well, it shouldn't be so complicated to do inputs. OBS picks up both microphones without any fuss. Would you? So hopefully DaVinci will upgrade when they do, and they do pretty frequent upgrades, and I do have some confidence that they care more about their customer base than Premiere Pro, than Adobe. So anyway, that's not the point of the video. We'll see if the sound works better. I'm kind of excited. This is a Shure SM58 microphone, something I've wanted to get for quite a long time. The other stages above that, in the podcasting realm, you see a lot of those big sort of can-shaped microphones. Those are usually around $300-400 or more. There's versions of them that are smaller as the industry is expanded and reaching different price points and stuff. So about $100 for a very highly reputable, strong microphone. I've been using these old Behringer XM8500 mics since the early days of the podcast, 2010, and they actually sound good. They don't sound so bad. But I've been just battling audio problems this whole time. Today's audio, this is just me complaining. Today's audio issue is the stinking headphone connector here on the side is goofed up. So I got to order some cables. Hopefully it's not inside the headphone. It has detachable headphones, but it's mini XLR, and the original the cable that came with it points straight down. And I found it's like a 2 or 3 inch plug that goes straight down. And I love that it's detachable, because then when your wire breaks, you don't have to throw away the whole headphones like non-detachable microphones. But having that thing poking down is hitting your shoulder. It's like as if the headpiece or the earpiece that covers it goes over your entire ear and then is also 3 inches lower. It was driving me absolutely nuts. So I bought an extra device, took it out, that has a right angle turn, and then I wrap up the cord around the can, and then that goes back and around. But I think the connections around that are failing, because it's like, I always have a mishmash of old cords and audio cables, aux cables, 1/8 inch cables, all sorts of shit. And right now it's going in and out. As I'm listening to my ears, it's not holding, and it's absolutely making me, it's just horrible. I can't think straight whatsoever. This is so bad. So let's talk about Valheim. Oh, here it is. It fell apart. Okay, hold on. Maybe just this. Hold on. Let's. Oh God. Okay. Now it's going to be dangling off my head like a dope. As long as it's stable. I don't mind if I have to mess with it, but as long as it holds. And so, yeah, I'm going to place that order as soon as I'm done here. Yes. So we're working, we're trying, and thanks for being patient. We're actually getting closer to being up to speed on the whole effort. Valheim show. I have finally edited everything up to this, actually, 66, even though currently as is published, it's like in the 40s still. And I made thumbnails up to like the early 60s, so I'm pretty good to go for a bunch of posts pretty soon. So it's been fine. It's going fine. I wanted to talk about what's on screen is this awesome tree farm. And I really, boy, it is one of those. I have that kind of obsessive, hyper focus, totally distractible brain, as I talk about constantly. And this is exactly that. The voxel mechanics of piecing the whatever, I think it's a seed. I'm sure if I looked up voxel like explainers, I'm sure there's tons of information, but I kind of like trying to solve it myself and figure it out. But in order to get these like clean, kind of they're not quite 90 degrees, but they the way these one voxel to the next, it must be on some kind of grid system, but then by flattening and either if you're above or below, it'll raise or lower, then it starts to fill in, and it's sort of tricky. I probably could have built this thing with a quarter of the work. Oh yeah, I also built that sculpture back there too in the previous fast forward. So, but because it's functional even if it's messy, and I could even, but I might have been able to. But I'm really going for clean lines and just basically that's it. I want like to find those mathematically kind of satisfying right angles. They're not actually right because they're slightly sloped over in this game. But what I learned was, or what I as you'll see if you keep going, and I'm not sure if I'm going to talk this whole time. I think it's about 42 minutes or so of fast forwarded footage. I did finally learn that it's kind of easier, and we'll see this at the end. If I'm still talking, I'll point it out. But is that the best way to do it is to sort of just fill it up too high and then come down and then pare it down from there. Similar to how I do stuff in Photoshop, actually. But then I also noticed that it leaves these voids that you can then go add, and then it just, so I just ended up doing a lot of stuff repetitively. But that's also sort of how I kind of like, my head sort of loves those sort of whatever feedback, clicky noises, stimming, probably it would be the concept we're circling here in terms of this sort of back and forth, and not just in the autistic brain that wants it to be super precise, but also I have to know that the underlying structure is also similarly precise, even though it's invisible. So that's just so dumb. But it's playing on screen right now. I hope it'll be smoother when I finally export. I don't think the program is holding up is showing every frame. In fact, I'm seeing it on screen here. It's going at 22 frames a second as I'm watching it. But when I export it, it'll take the time to actually produce all 60 frames per second, which is what it should do. So yeah. But we're gonna have a lot of trees. Gonna be nice. Gonna be fun. Gonna save a lot of time. Not at all. The amount of work I put into building the tree farm is ridiculous. There was actually, I built that little building off to the side. Wanted a place to rest. Currently, there is a comfort level 4 in there, and actually, we're going to see in future episodes, I'm going to be using that as a testing ground for raising the comfort level, because I kind of want to mess around with that mechanic in the game and see what sort of changes you can produce by adding things. I think it's mostly like chairs and tables and decorations and food. The sort of the signifiers of conquest that you gain as you expand in the game are then you build your, you put your trophies on your walls and your food on your plates and your chairs on your floors and your butts on your chairs, and then the comfort level goes up to give you a higher rested score. So I was running back and forth a lot to get rested, and that's just sort of annoying. But yeah, added some lights, added some torch things just to see. Those are just temporary construction lights. There's been a steady trickle of dudes walking by. We are going to test whether the twig, that's the ectoplasm fueled training dummy that fights me. As you'll see back in the base. Oh, here I am fighting off a chill attack. That's where you get the ectoplasm. We are going to test if they attack enemies. Spoiler alert, I think I've tested it already because I had a guy in the base and I was letting him, I'm giving him, spoiler here from something else. But I don't think they do get activated when they see an enemy. But we're still going to build a couple around this tree farm because these locals come wandering by and being super annoying. And you all know how I feel about being annoyed. Okay? Instant judgment. And hopefully my humanoid robot army will take over and replace all humans. That's what their goal is. The people in charge of this planet want to replace all the humans with robots that do everything because their labor force is very annoying. Human beings are obnoxious because they're made out of flesh and impulses, and that is bad for profits. So the sooner they can replace everybody with robots, the better off they will be. They're, of course, going to maintain some populations of humans that they can treat with horribleness and, use to exercise their terrible impulses. Very dark times. I don't want to necessarily go super far into this, but into the thought that I'm having right now. So 2026 is rolling up on us. We've already entered it. I've got a couple of pretty. This is fun. I like when I actually bother with a cart. Saves a lot of time. Working in the rain, never fun. But 2026 has brought a lot of rain here in Los Angeles. I've got some drippings actually coming off the ceiling from my busted up. Look at this. We got a container that used to hold pickles. Now it holds. I put cardboard and this padded stuff that's for the fish tank because it was catching the drips. Been dumping this. It's filled up a few times. Not full all the way. I dump it out, but we're getting water. And the padded bit is so that it doesn't make that little tap noise, little sound of a droplet landing on plastic or on cardboard or something flat, or even not flat. But yeah, that sound is driving me crazy. So I lost my targeting. Shit. But have been enjoying that. It's actually the droplet. I have the second monitor here that I use. In fact, here I'll spin it. So yeah, OBS. This is the second monitor, and so the droplet has been coming down, straight down, and so it's like in my vision. And so I've been getting these super distracting bloop. And look at all this garbage I have. That's McDonald's from Christmas Eve or something. Okay. Let me turn that. Yeah. So, but working on stuff, trying to make 2026 the year everything turns around a bit and changes, and we get some progress. And last year was pretty rough. I've been in a lot of messy brain space type situations in the last several years. And I'm hoping for a period of time that's healthy and safe and hopefully maybe even fun and productive. And it's difficult if you're paying attention to the news, if you look at the world the way as closely as I do. It's a difficult time to be alive if you're someone who cares. That would describe me. And it's I got to get better. I got to really work on that, on exposing how much exposure to information do I need in terms of protecting myself and keeping myself on point, because I'm having a really hard time managing my impulses, meaning my ADHD, and kind of keeping my focus going. The whole thing. I was just sort of, this is random. I happened upon the Knowledge Fight. That's my friend Dan his podcast, which is a pretty popular podcast, actually. You can find it, Knowledge Fight. They have a huge audience. They have like a very active subreddit. And somehow I came across some Young Turks talk about the Young Turks on Reddit because I'm researching for the documentary and stuff, which is going to be a major part of 2026, is finally finishing Tell the Truth, Jank, the documentary. But I saw some chatter about that on the Knowledge Fight subreddit, and it was a pretty long one. And I ended up finding someone mentioned, I did a Control F for the word union. Someone brought up their unionizing, and then someone actually mentioned my appearance on the Leftist Mafia, and they said they liked the guy. That was nice. I did appreciate that. And they said ADHD AF, which confirms I haven't watched that episode yet. This was about a year ago. It was February when I was on Leftist Mafia. Anyway, this is not the shit I normally talk about on Suck Professor. This would actually be better off saved for Winners and Losers podcast, but I'm not playing the game, so it's like, okay. So yeah, but it was funny to see that, like, the way I had assessed my performance immediately and in the many months of torture afterwards, I was so out of it. I didn't give myself enough time to come down because I had been working incredibly hard on the website and on the GoFundMe and the webs and trying to create. Yeah, I was so overstimulated and stressed. I had like 5 minutes between finishing and then getting onto the show. So I was like, I was too tired to not be hyper. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have it in me to mask sufficiently the autistic ADHD hyper stuff, but it was just hilarious to see someone else be like telling another person about that. And they said I gave a lot of good information. They appreciate like it was a nice paragraph. I'll probably bring it up on Winners and Losers one of these days too, but it was ADHD AF. Man, that's so true. God, it was I just remember being like I can't stop it. I don't know. It's the hyper thinkings, but okay. Well, why did I get into that? Oh, a lot of that is informed by my media consumption and my habits and my caffeine intake, which is way too high. In fact, after I finish recording this, I'm going to set it up to export so that it exports while I'm gone. I'm going to take a walk to the grocery store and get some more caffeine. I'm going to buy a large tub of grains, little grains that used to be part of beans, and that'll be nice. I make a cold brew. I use hot water to sort of first stage in a metal mug the coffee grounds, the grounds, and then I let that sit for a bit, and then I fill it all up in a jug, and I let that sit in the fridge with cold water and stuff. I mean, it turns cold in the fridge, obviously, but I add a bunch of cold water to a big jug, and then so I guess that's not technically cold brew in a sense. I think cold brew is no heat goes into it and stuff, but I just want the caffeine. I just want the chemical that helps me regulate my brain somewhat, seemingly. I'd like to get off caffeine in 2026. That's kind of why I brought that up. I didn't used to be a coffee guy way back in the day. Never, and I would wake up super early. Not super early, but I used to wake up really fast. Like I used to just bounce out of bed. The minute my eyes opened, my brain would start racing. I've always been like that. Among the reasons why, when I finally learned what autism was, and that's something that happens with overactive brains and minds. But I also was usually able to get going within like a minute. Like I was fully awake within a minute of waking up, and then I'd be out of bed. These days, it's like an hour. I'm groggy. I think it's age, but I also think it has a lot to do with the way I'm managing my internal energy systems, both with caffeine and with social media and sleep scheduling and scrolling. And sometimes I'm up at 3 a.m. looking at TikTok, and then it's 5 a.m. all of a sudden, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I? And then it's 6:30, and I've been scrolling for 3.5 hours between 3 and 6:30 a.m. Why? What's this doing for me? I did see a really funny one recently. A young woman teaching how to do ventriloquism, and she used hilarious words when she finally demonstrated the skill. Sorry. Anyway, okay. That's the worst podcasting at all. What if I just did a whole show where I just mentioned TikToks I've seen, and then I never show you anything? You don't ever get to see anything. Actually, I did used to. Maybe I should bring this show back. Yeah. It's called No Pain, No Gain, but pain is spelled P-A-N-E. It's a comic. It's like a single panel comics, like in the New Yorker. This is an old idea. I think I did record a couple with a buddy way back in the Infinite Clicks days. That's another YouTube channel that I abandoned. But the idea is that we are dedicated to showing comics, to being like fans of comics and like expressing positive thoughts and reactions to comics, like single panel comics. But we never actually show any because it's like licensing or something, and so we only just describe it. I actually kind of like the way people describe comics, like that sort of thing. So there's a guy in a doctor's office. It says on the wall, there's a clock. It says, like the way you can paint a scene visually using your words, which is something that we try to do here at SPHQ. Yeah, so I tried to edit out a bunch of these, but they're not all. It's just a pain in the ass to go through and edit out those out. That's on pause. The camera likes to start to swirl around, and I wish there was more control of that. So, yeah. Another thing I'm hoping to do better with is setting up DaVinci to process audio, but also my breathing. I get really in my head when we're recording that you can hear me go Like you probably heard that one. But like I find that kind of distracting. I don't know if people even notice it. It's not like people don't breathe in the real world, so you wouldn't be like, "What's that weird noise? I have never heard such a strange sound." But I do think when you're recording, you could, there's ways to not make that so clear. But it also connects to my health and my cardio. I actually feel like that's probably the main thing is I am really not, I've been walking. In fact, that's why I want to finish up recording here in a few minutes, but got to get that walk on. But it has not been, I can tell, like, if I had to run, if the zombie apocalypse or the Trump apocalypse or whatever horrible apocalypse is headed our way, which is likely, I'm going to be I'm going to be gassed at like half a block away from the house. You know what I mean? I ain't making it. I hope the zombies don't have good cardio, but I am not making it very far. If I had to like walk and talk at the same time, I'd be out of breath. It's not good. It's not good. We could work on this. This is all stuff I'm hoping to do better with. Less phone, much better sleeping. Hopefully, I'm not going to quit caffeine anytime soon, but by the end of the year, maybe I'll take a swing at it. I really do love that jolt of a big old mug of beautiful brown. I love that cream. You know, when you add cream to the coffee and it turns into that gorgeous medium brown. Oh baby. So yeah, let's see. Where am I looking at? Let's talk about Valheim here. Here's me resting. This is exactly what I do. This is my number 12 spot right there. That gets me 19 minutes of rest, which helps the recovery time and stuff. So I'd like to get to a point where almost no matter where you are in the base, you're at least like a 10 or a 12. That's kind of, because I think you can get that number up to like 20 probably or something higher with further in future loot from the world. But yeah, I mean, watch how much back and forth there is here. How far are we even into it? I'm almost a little afraid to mess with DaVinci here while we're recording. Oh, we're about halfway through. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So, yeah, what else is there to say? This is a bit of an awkward way to do it. Yeah, so I'm going to keep messing with stuff. Ideally, the idea for my production and my capacities here is to take out the hassle of like getting it set up and editing and doing, and smooth out all the rough edges so that there's a easy workflow. Because I often find that's what gets in my way is I have to do something extra. I have to fart around something. I have to dangle cords off my frickin' headphones in the middle of I gotta order just different cables. I need a little connector thing. I wouldn't buy these headphones again because of this issue. High quality. They weren't cheap. Roughly $200. I was able to get them because of fundraiser assistance from the documentary from last year. Really nice sound. I like the build, but I just can't take having a rubber spike poking down 2.5 inches. Even having this right turn thing is great, but it also feels like I'm asking for damaging it by not handling it with care. I don't want to be super careful with my headphones. I don't want to throw them around either, but put them down and not worry about it too much. But they take a beating, these things. So maybe I'll need to get new headphones at some point. Not anytime soon, but yeah. I don't have much else to say, honestly. I need to get going. I'm starting to sweat. My whatchamacallit, window's closed. We're hoping to get the screens fixed at some point this year so I can fully open the windows. Definitely need that done before winter. And I got to get the dang roof repaired by the management company. They have done it before, and I've had a couple of spots, but we've had like 6 days of rain. We've had a lot of rain, steady drizzle, some heavy stuff too, but California's been getting snockered lately by bad rains, storms and stuff. Hopefully it's depositing a lot of snow. That snow is a magic. How cool is nature that it delivers this amazing life-giving substance, this wondrous material, H2O, delivers it in abundance from the sky and then stores it on the mountains in the form of solid ice for it to then later melt as the seasons turn and then produce a lot of healthy, good water for, for running creeks and farming and irrigation and reservoirs. But the fact that it stores itself up in the mountains and then melts, and that's part of the cycle of nature as we've been conditioned, or not conditioned, but as we've take for granted here on this marvelous planet, tilted 23.5 degrees, or else we wouldn't have seasons. That's why this weird angle as it rotates around the sun takes slightly different. It's just so incredible, the balance that Earth, the moon, the sun, and we are not treating this planet with the respect it deserves. And it's such a catastrophic and devastating thing about the way the world is currently being run, is that there's no responsibility to care for this place, because it's really truly the one and only thing we got, and it's beautiful. And your construct, your internal entropy structures are so special and so unique and so rare. I was thinking about DNA. I think that when we find other aliens, when we do finally reach some sort of awareness, that there will be versions of DNA. Probably not exactly the way we have, although there has been some interesting returns from research, from studying one of the asteroids that we collected material from, the Bennu asteroid. Some research papers have come out recently that's showing there's a lot of these like amino acids and even some sugars, like some really base, but like a lot more sort of biology going. Nothing indicating life was here, but way more than just like bare elements and, you know, simple kind of compounds. It's like complex stuff that is part of the shit. So it's pretty safe to assume there's, you know, certainly bacterial or some sort of microbial kind of life out in the universe somewhere. But the technological advanced sort that we are is likely to be less common. But I do think that the DNA stuff, the way that our bodies and life itself is coded by strands of information sorting, I think some sort of mechanism like that will exist throughout. Obviously, who the hell knows? Don't want to anthropomorph. That's not the right phrase, but anthrocentric, or just assuming everything is the same way as humans. But my point, coming at it from a different angle, is kind of like, it's not that that's, well, I know I sound like a fucking moron. Just bear with me. Those are instructions for entropy gathering. So tightening entropy, which is to say, sustaining a state of low entropy, means that information can be held in the form of a biological organism. It requires input. That's why things need to either grow their own food, such as plants, via, you know, amazing process of photosynthesis, or eat something else in order to. It doesn't work without input, and it has to be held. Once that input goes away, the spark goes, and then the entropy dissipates. It unwinds. It's less tight. So it's like a kitchen towel that if you're wringing out water from a rag, like a towel, and you're squeezing it tight. That's what I think entropy is in terms of biology. It's rare and it takes strength. If you let go, that's the same as the input's going away, and it just goes poof, and it loosens, and it returns to the process of eventually becoming uniform throughout, thanks to the heat death of the universe. But it's a temporary interruption in the rate of deletion of information. That's what life is. And so I think that we'll see. None of us are going to see this because space is too big. But if there is other life out there, I do have a sense that there's, not just the DNA, that's just the fact that it has to have some sort of way of organizing itself. But the critical part is that the rarity of entropy being held in suspension in that form is what's so special about life. That's what we're looking for when we're doing all this astronomy. Not the only, there's astronomers that are looking for stuff that's not that, but there's obviously a pretty exciting, maybe not exciting, but there's a pretty robust, inquisitive part of looking into the stars and hoping to see signs of complex biology or something beyond just space chemistry. It's so cool up there. And boy, what's happening in this world is just it's such a tragedy. I think human beings are just so special and so wonderful. even the ones that aren't Einstein, even the silly doofuses. Why don't we just make sure everybody's fine? And yeah, anyway. So yeah, why did I go off on that? I don't know why. I didn't even articulate it very well. Yeah, I'll save that one for TikTok. Maybe we'll bring that one back. So, right. All right. I think I'm going to let this play out for the rest of it. You're just going to have to watch the time lapse, or you can hang up. I don't care. I mean, do what you want. I wouldn't blame you for scrolling as soon as I stop talking if you're already here with me this far. Thank you so much. Thanks for being patient. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Winners and Losers is going to make a return this year. I've got these projects I'm working on, getting paid for, it's just nice to have some income. Honestly, it's been quite a long time since I had anything close. And this isn't going to keep going. I just have to finish these projects. And yeah, but it has been really stressful. And so hopefully 2026, I'll be able to land some income. The hope is that after these two projects I have to do wrap up, I focus on the Young Turks project, and then I'm able to get that fundraiser going, and that would be wonderful. But if not, I have to find other sources, and we'll see. But yeah, so I'm going to keep myself really busy. But in order to do that, I have to do some work on these other foundational things that I was talking about earlier, like sleeping and other stuff. Less scrolling, hopefully more reading, even listening to books. I got The Parable of the Sower, which is this really interesting book I've started to listen to. I think I'm like 4 or 5 chapters in. Then the hold lapsed, or the loan from the library app. Got it again. Still not listening to it, but I'm determined. So just need to be conscientious and make changes. I get this time blindness thing too, where all of a sudden I'm several hours in and I haven't moved, or things just pass so fast. And on top of all that, geez, I'm just rambling here. I gotta lose weight. I've been carrying a lot of weight for a while, and it's not good for me. It's bad for everything inside, and I've messed up my back in a way that is just really rough. And so I feel very motivated by that, because I'm way too young to be this immobilized. It's already bad enough that the wrists, my cartilage and my wrists are wrecked from all the woodworking and the it's really mainly from the computer work, but going and getting a job where I was holding vibrating tools for 7 hours a day was the absolute worst thing I could have done for someone who might have been a little bit rough on their wrists due to over computer usage. So yeah, been a computer goblin since I was so young, and as I'm getting into older, that is only gonna. I no longer. It's been a while too, but I don't have the springiness of youth to cover up some of these things anymore. It's amazing when you're in your 40s and you look, and people in their 60s must be going, God, I wish their 40s is so young. I know. That's how I feel about people in their 20s. I look back, I saw some of me in my late 20s. And I've always had self-esteem issues, and I've always thought I was kind of ugly, and my teeth, and but I made up for it with height and being funny. But I look back and I saw, and when I was doing the fish tank thing back in Chicago, I was basically exercising all day, very physical job. So I think that held up a decent bit of muscle mass, but I still wasn't in like cut shape. But then I look back, and so I sort of was rough on myself so much of my life, oftentimes very. Then I see these photos of me when I was younger, and I'm like, I was kind of good looking. What the hell? I could have gotten had so many more times with others. Why was I so hard on myself? So don't be so hard on yourself. You're attractive. You'll be horrible when you're older. Okay, you'll be a disgusting, horrible beast in 5 years, 10 years. Okay? So no, it's too bad. It's too bad that we're all stuck in these meat sacks. What's going on here in the game? I stopped even looking. I think I'm just running around here. What is that? That's one of the other bases. Okay, back to the tree farm. Yeah, these are walking sequences where I tell myself I'm not going to do fast forward because I'd like to show. But then I don't ever. Sometimes I just. Yeah, we're just building around. And anyway, all right. So, as you're going to see soon, I've already, well, let me start that over. As you'll see soon, I just get totally distracted here and start building out the room, one of the big rooms in the base. the one with the angled walls. And so the rest of this is going to be me working on that. Although I was not paying attention. Maybe I've already been working on it, but you're going to see it. And we'll pick up some of that in the next episode. I built like this, big fireplace thing and kind of built out the room a bit more. And I'm sort of hoping to be able to clear the iron uprights. I like this I like it when these interior spaces have this big cavernous feeling about them. So I think that comes up real soon here. But there's a few cycles of testing the tree farm, and eventually I just want to use it to grow fine woods. That's sort of the thing I'm missing most, although I do have a big pile of it, but I'm sort of using that as a decoration. And, decorations are holy and sacrosanct. So right here, though, so that's part of the idea for the tree farm is to get an access to the fine woods and just sort of make it easy. And I just kind of wanted to see if I can destroy the trees as I chop down the top layer. It'd be kind of fun if the optimized version of it would be that you only have to cut down the trees at the top. They knock down all the trees down the way, and then by the time they reach the bottom, they've been damaged so much that they're all turned into collectible, glowy items. That's sort of the part of the idea that I'd like to see. What are they saying? Oh, and I think I could probably get there. I think the tree farm might need to be a little taller to accomplish that. But we'll see. I'm just going to get it so that it's nice and square, slightly different on each side. And then we're going to go through a bunch of routines of planting trees, spacing them out correctly. They do get in each other's way if they block the sun or something. So there's some nuances to all that. Okay, yeah, see, here I am. This is me getting going in this area and building out the base under here. Yeah, much more. You'll see it. It'll happen. So with that, I got to go. Need to get on the road by walking and go buy some caffeine and whatever else is at the store that I need as I start to shift my shit over to better foods, cutting out the sugars, lowering the carb intake. Not going to be super aggressive about this process right away in terms of this week, but I am going to stop adding chicken pot pies to my reservoir of chicken pot pies, and we'll switch to veggies and cheap meats. I'm always getting discount meats when I can. Yeah, so fish tank is looking okay. I have the blue filter. Hold on. So that's just this. It's a lid to a 3-chambered Tupperware type thingy. You can see the two small sides, and then the big one here. It's just see-through plastic with blue. I think I have red downstairs. I like messing with stuff like that, and so because I'm kind of messing around with this whole space behind me where the jar used to be, and maybe making it into some kind of little production thing. I kind of want to experiment with using a camera and miniatures or some sort of smaller stage type thing, and maybe adding some animation to it. So that could be fun. I've also recorded some pixel movers. I know I've been talking about that a little bit, so I've got some in the chamber. They're not edited yet, but I've done a bit of work for that, which is hopefully going to be taking up a bunch of time soon in terms of prepping and posting. Yeah, so welcome everybody. Why did I say that? Thank you for watching. And there's only 4, 5, 10 minutes maybe. I don't think it's kind of hard to tell. I don't want to touch this, change it, because it's playing right now as it's recording. So I'll leave it alone. But hope you're doing okay. Thanks for watching. You don't have to watch the rest of this. But I'm going to keep it in there. And we'll see you in episode 67. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.